Hello, my name is Jared McNett, and I'm a political reporter for the Sioux City Journal and frequent guest on the On Iowa Politics podcast. I'm here today to chat with David Davis, who is running as the Libertarian candidate against incumbent Republican Jason Schultz in Iowa Senate District 6.
Yeah.
Hello, David.
Oh,
So I think maybe the easiest way to start is to just get a little background about you, for folks who might not know you. So, how old are you? What sort of work do you do, and where do you live?
well, I'm 55. I live in Harlan, Iowa, and up to about maybe about a year and a half ago, I was a truck driver. Before that, and I was an over-the-road truck driver. Before that, I was in the Army, and I had served on active duty from 2000 to 2012, and I was on active duty from 85 to 92. And in between those two times of active duty, I was in the National Guard and Army Reserves. So I was pretty much in the military from 85 to 2012.
That's
And
what I
before
was.
that, I had,
Sorry, go ahead.
go on. No, yeah, before that, in 1985 is when I graduated from high school. And when I got out of the Army in 92, I was in college. And I decided that I wanted to be back on active duty again and finish out my time on active duty and collect a nice Army pension out of the deal.
And so to date, then, with all that different work you've done in the service and truck driving and everything, what accomplishments in your life are you proudest of up to this point?
Well, yeah, I am proud of my military service. And I'm proud I did get a college degree when in between the two times I was on active duty. I'm kind of glad of that. And I got my CDL after I retired from the Army. And I'm kind of glad about that. I mean, that was one of my goals, to get a CDL and just to basically visit the country, drive around the country, see what the country was all about. And then I had always been interested in running for office. So then that's like that was like the next step.
Hmm. Yeah, and so then what kind of led you to finally decide to run in this election cycle?
Well, first of all, I don't think anyone should just be have the office given to him. Jason Schultz was running unopposed, and he said, "Hey, he should have to run at least against someone, so then he knows where he really stands." Because this is Iowa. In Iowa, about 40 out of 100 House races, they're either running unopposed or they're running against third-party candidates. And because of the census, there's like more Senate races than normal. There's like I think 34 state Senate races, where normally it'd be 25. And out of 34 state Senate races, it's like 9 is that last count. They were either running unopposed or running against third party candidate or candidates. And that's 25%. That's more than 25% if it's 9 races. And that's the way Iowa's always been, I think. It's, a lot of races go uncontested. And I don't like that. I mean, people should have to prove why they should be in office. They shouldn't have to just have it given it to them.
Hmm. Yeah, and then so since you are running as a third party candidate, I was kind of curious, what made you decide to run as a third party candidate versus say, challenging Mr. Schultz in the primary or running as the Democratic candidate?
Well, I am a member of the Libertarian Party. I'm a dues paying member. And also the Libertarians, I agree more with the Libertarians than I do with the Democrats or the Republicans. I mean, they have some good things about both parties, but I'm more in tune with the Libertarian Party. I mean, I do support drug legalization to criminal decriminalization, and I support the Second Amendment. And I believe that I'm an absolutist on freedom of speech. I mean, I don't believe in speech codes or speech laws, and it seems like both of those parties, they don't tend to, they either only support like one of those 10 things or two of those 10 things. And I might agree with 8 of 10 things when you combine both parties together.
Yeah, and then so you mentioned a couple of issues, but if you were to be elected in November, what issues would you make your greatest priorities in the legislature?
Well, the carbon capture pipeline is in the news. I mean, I don't know if there's anything we can do about it. If we can stop it, I'll try to stop it. But let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Let's make sure there's more teeth to make sure the eminent domain applies to a need for the government and not for private business. Because that the original intent of eminent domain was for like building building maybe like a fire station or a police department or a school. It was never intended to give businesses like, I think in one state, a Walmart got eminent domain, and I'm thinking that doesn't sound like a public use. That sounds like to me that sounds like private use, and I think we need to put a stop to that. I'm big on term limits. I'm at both the state and federal level. I mean, why not 5 terms in the state house, 3 terms in the state senate, and after that, if you want to run for Congress, run for Congress. And I support 5 terms at the U.S. House and 3 terms in the U.S. Senate level. And it's, we have term limits for the president. Why not for any other elected office? Because, I mean, they're not necessarily evil people, but after a while, they tend to get comfortable. And I figure that'll get new blood in. If the old people get out after serving 10 years, new blood will come in, and they'll have a fresh take on things and maybe have different ideas that are more in tune to the voting public than what was, say, 10, 15, or 20 years ago.
Hmm. Yeah, and then what do you believe sets you apart the most from your challenger in the race, Mr. Schultz?
That's a tough question. Well, he's new. He's actually new to the district too because of redistricting, but he's been in there a while, and I figure that, I mean, where does he stand on term limits? Where does he stand on the carbon capture pipeline? I mean, he's probably pro Second Amendment, but is he pro Second Amendment enough? I'm pretty much an absolutist on that. I do support. He probably supports education choice. I do. I think we can go maybe a little bit further on that. I mean, the state spends $10,000 per student, but the teachers aren't getting $10,000 per student. If there's 25 students in a classroom, the teachers get what, $30,000 to $50,000, and that's $250,000. Where's the other $200,000 going? And it's going toward the superintendent, and the principals are getting a lot of money out of it. And maybe find a way where the teachers can get it, and also find a way where parents can shop for their school, because it's their kids. The parents should have to have a say in where their kids go to school. They should have more of a say in where their kids go to school.
Yeah, and then you mentioned earlier when you were talking about some of the things that are biggest issues for you mentioned free speech, and you mentioned the Second Amendment a couple times. For you, what does being an absolutist mean when it comes to the Second Amendment?
Well, the constitutional amendment for the state constitution is definitely one. I'm not a big fan of gun registration. Um, people say gun registration leads to confiscation. I really didn't think that, but now I don't know. looking at what happened on January 6th with the Republicans, they could have just declared an emergency and start confiscating guns as much as Democrats could. So I'm thinking gun registration would probably protect, not having gun registration would protect political and religious minorities, in my opinion, that actually want to have a gun.
And then kind of putting a button on everything. Ultimately, why do you think voters in the district should choose you in November?
Because I think I will fight for their rights. I'll protect farms against eminent domain, definitely. I'll fight for freedom of speech. I'll fight for school choice. I'll protect gun owners' rights. I mean, I'll protect the Bill of Rights because that's what libertarians are supposed to do. We're supposed to be pretty much absolutist on the Bill of Rights. Like, we'll take for example, one thing I'm big on is qualified immunity reform. I mean, it isn't too big, I hope, in Iowa where police are violating people's rights. But if they do, should they really hide behind the shield of qualified immunity? In some cases, maybe yes, but I think there needs to be a more tightening of the rules of qualified immunity. What is qualified immunity and what isn't qualified immunity? Because it looks like some members of law enforcement are getting away with qualified immunity when they really shouldn't.
Okay. Yeah, and is there anything else that you want to make sure to let folks know about before Election Day?
Well, just remember Election Day is on November 8th, and that there are two people on the ballot. There's Jason Schultz, a Republican, and there's David Davis, and he's not the Republican. There's no Democrat running in the 6th state Senate district, and I would like to have your vote. Please consider voting for me.
Okay. David Davis, I thank you for your time today.
Hey, thank you.